Here is one of a series of talks by spiritual leader Lola McDowell Lee, spanning 2 decades from the early 70s through the 90s. Lola was a Zen Roshi, whose Rinzai lineage included Dr. Henry Platov and renowned Zen master Shigetsu Sasaki. Lola was a religious scholar as well as an ordained Christian minister. While the talks are focused mainly on Zen and Buddhism, Lola drew on many spiritual traditions, including those of Jesus, Plato, Lao Tzu, the Hindu Vedas, Meister Eckhart, and Gurdjieff.
My abiding place has no pillars. It is roofless, yet the rain does not wet it, nor the wind strike it. When it blows, the mountain wind is boisterous, but when it blows not, it simply blows not. Though it has no bridge, the cloud climbs up to heaven. It does not ask the aid of Gautama's sutras. Ripples appear on the unaccumulated water of an undug well, as the formless, bodiless man draws water from it. The mind, since there is really no such thing as mind, with what enlightenment shall it be enlightened? EQ wrote that somewhere back in 1450 or something like that, when he was abbot of Daitokoji. He was instrumental in furthering the tea ceremony into what it is today. It was his main student, Shoko, that fully developed it, but it was through the auspices, of course, of this EQ. And he wrote about 150 of what are called doka, little poetry things, And they say of it, it's not very good poetry, but it certainly shows the man. His sincerity and his understanding the contradiction in Zen, because Zen is, after all, full of contradiction, except that when you understand and when you work with the contradictions, we finally find out that there aren't any contradictions at all. It's just the way it is. See, it's like the little Zen master who said to his disciple, the little monk is in confrontation, and the Roshi says, I have here a staff, and yet I don't have a staff. How would you explain that? And this he's a new monk, this novice, he says, well, I wouldn't explain it. I wouldn't. And this master says, now, don't be impertinent, It is incumbent upon you, if you really wish to attain enlightenment as you claim you do, it is incumbent upon you to make every possible effort to answer this. The novice says, oh, all right. I guess if you look at it one way, you have a staff, and if you look at it another way, you don't have a staff. And the Roshi says, no, that's not what I mean at all. I mean, looked at exactly the same way. I have a staff, and I don't have a staff. Now, how do you explain this? And the little novice says, I give up. And the Roshi says, but you shouldn't give up. No, 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 no. You must strain every ounce of your being to unravel this. And the little monk says, well, I wouldn't argue with you as to whether or not I should give up. It's just simply a fact. I give up. You know? Well, don't you wish to attain enlightenment? Well, if attaining enlightenment means considering such a foolish question as to whether you've got a staff and you don't have a staff, then the devil with it, you know. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but goodbye. And he leaves. And 12 years later, 12 years it took him, this little novice comes back and he says, and so I return to you in a state of absolute contrition. For 12 years, I have been wandering around, feeling terrible for my cowardice and for my impatience. I now realize that I cannot keep running away from life. Sooner or later, I have to face the ultimate problems of the universe. So now I'm ready to steel myself and try to work in earnest on the problem that you gave me. And the master looks at him and says, what problem was that? You know? You said that you have a staff, and yet you don't have a staff. How do I explain that? And the master says, is that really what I said? How silly of me. Understand this thing, huh? You know, and it is said by people who don't know, they say that Zen has no teaching in it. And they say that Zen has no doctrine in it. And they say that Zen gives no guidance. I mean, how can a story like that give you any guidance? Yeah. And all of this is simply because there isn't a goal. They are not goal-oriented, as I've said before. They're source-oriented. And, of course, we know, I hope you know, that within the Zen school, as they call it, there lies a very great teaching, one of the greatest. And within it lies this guidance. It just simply is the most simple of devices to find yourself. And what else do you think you're going to find? One doesn't, you know, in Zen sit and say, well, move in that direction. You know, as if you're going to go to heaven. Zen says, you are already. Nothing is lacking. You're not going anywhere. And the more you try to reach somewhere other than you, the less possibility there is of reaching or attaining. And now when we sit, or most people when they sit down to learn meditation, we have an idea that we're going to get something. And so we, in here, you know, when we're grasping at this and we're grasping at that, usually what we're grasping at are thoughts. And we grasp, and at the same time, we're not able to grasp anything. It's just that we're trying to. And it seems somehow so slippery and so sly and so shy. There's something that seems to be so elusive that you're using all the time. See, so getting it doesn't mean you're going to get something. It's just that you're going to get what is already available. It already is. It is the very nature of existence. So in this framework of thought, enlightenment is not a goal. It is a quality of being now. When you have a goal in your mind, something that you want to do, something that you want to have, you know, it is not here now. It is there then. It's going to be here when I do certain things. A goal is somewhere else. It's not with you now. Your source is with you now. But a goal is kind of like the horizon. You know, as if you're standing on the rail of a boat and looking at all this water and the sky, and you look across this water, oh, over there, the sky and the water seem to meet. We call this an horizon. And one feels, well, if I travel a little bit further, I will reach that horizon. And then I will know. But you know, one never reaches the horizon, because the more you move toward it, the more it recedes from you. You know, it's always... There is an old koan. Where do heaven and earth meet? Yeah. And somebody once gave an answer, well, the earth and the sky, heaven and earth, are not meeting anywhere. They can't meet, ever, because they're not two. They're just one. The earth is a crystallization of the sky. See? And for a meeting, at least two are necessary. See? So that the horizon exists only in the mind of a man. It has no real truth in it. No. It's an illusion, because the earth is curved, is round, and so is space. You know, so we see this. But if you have such an illusion in your head, you know, of something, of a goal that you're looking for, you can go on searching and searching and searching and searching, and the more you feel like you're not getting it, the more anxious you're going to become. But you can't get it. You know, you drive yourself nutty, you know. Simply trying to get what is not a fact. Yes. Now this is, of course, not the answer to the koan at all. Where do heaven and earth meet? It's quite simple. Then this business that they say that there is no guidance in this thing. Well, there's lots of Roshis, some pretty good ones, some extremely good ones, and some not so good ones. I mean, they are, after all, people. But what is the purpose of a teacher? Well, the purpose of a teacher is simply to bring you here now. See? To hit you so hard with what is that it brings you to your senses, as it were. Here now. And hitting you doesn't necessarily mean striking you with a stick. See, it can be a statement. It can be a question. A question can hit the thinking so hard. You know, you're going in this direction with the thinking, and comes now this question, and it cuts crosswise, as it were, and you get all discombobulated, you know. You know? It's like all the little things in the mind all scurry in the 10 directions. And then it all comes together again, and you may still be going in the same direction. You're off a little bit, but you're going in a direction again. Too bad. But in that moment before it all clumps together, something can be seen when everything is scattered in the, as I say, in the 10,000 directions. In that moment, you can have a glimpse. So to awaken you out of your sleep and out of your dreams, out of your fantasies, in which somehow or another we have become engulfed, immersed, overwhelmed, to get you out of the deluded mind. As the saying goes, my mind is not deluded. And it comes immediately, you see. I see perfectly well what is. How dare he say that to me? Yeah. And a little poem, you know, which goes, if an eye never falls asleep, all dreams by themselves will cease. If the mind retains its oneness, the 10,000 things are of one suchness. When the deep mystery of one suchness is fathomed, all of a sudden we forget the external entanglements. When the 10,000 things are viewed in their oneness, we return to the origin and remain what we are. Sozan wrote that. That was the third Chinese patriarch. We remain what we are. But first you have to find out what you are. Never mind what you'd like to be. You know, what are you? He also wrote the thing that is called Shinjin Mei, which is translated as inscribed on the believing mind, which also states, the perfect way knows no difficulties except that it refuses to make preferences. Only when freed from hate and love, it reveals itself fully and without disguise. You know, such marvelous things, and the books are full of them. Such marvelous things have been handed to us. And if you're going to spend your time thinking, you know, think a little bit about something like this. And I use the word thinking in the way of penetrating, you know, going through, and not just running around up here like two white mice. Yeah. Now we know that much of our thinking is what is called abstract. Once in a while we think concretely, but a lot of it is abstract. And abstract thinking, as you all know, you're all aware of, means to remove. It's to move away from. It's to dissociate yourself. It's to consider something without any reference as to application. It's not functional. Abstract, huh? You know, when you think, how do you apply what you think? You come here and you listen. How do you apply what you hear? It's important, not just going further and further and further into the wild blue yonder. No. We abstract from any given event. We move away from. This is what we are so busily engaged in, moving away from. I mean, practically everyone here is cognizant of the steps of unconscious abstracting. Aren't you? First there is the event, then there's the picture of the event, then there's the name of the event, then there's a classification of the event and the category of the event, you know, and what is here now is long forgotten. Well, maybe I'll do that whole series again one of these days, seeing that we're so smart with this thing. So the little monk goes to see the Roshi, and he says, "So tell me, Master, is the soul immortal or not? Do we survive our bodily death, or do we get annihilated? Do we really reincarnate? Does our soul split up into component parts which get recycled? Or do we, as a single unit, enter the body of a biological organism? And do we retain our memory or not? Or is the doctrine of reincarnation false? Is perhaps the Christian notion of survival more correct? And if so, do we get bodily resurrected, or does our soul enter a purely Platonic spiritual realm?" Abstract questions. Yeah. You know what the Master said to that? Your breakfast is getting cold. Yeah? It's always back to basics, back to here now, back to where you are. See, breakfast now, that's important. It's more important than any future paradise that you are envisioning. The breakfast really is more important than the concept of a deity. Breakfast is more important than a theory of reincarnation, or your fantasies about your soul, or all this about rebirth. That's gobbledygook, huh? Because breakfast is now. It's here. It goes in your stomach. You use it. It's functional, huh? It's immediate, huh? The immediate is the ultimate. What you're looking for in all your abstracting is immediate. the ultimate that you're looking for is immanent, that is operating within this reality, if I knew what this reality was. It is inherent here. It is confined in consciousness. It is confined in that with which I am aware of my world. So where are you looking? It is immediate. The ultimate is immediate. It's here now. See, this moment is eternity. This now. This moment is eternity. But to know this, you have to be aware, you have to wake up to this moment. And you can't wake up to this moment if you're caught in all your abstractions. You can't be caught in some future life and know this moment. So this kind of treatment, even the little monks playing together with their verbal contests, is called in Zen a device to disturb the dreaming mind. It is to create in you so much commotion that you finally become alarmed, It's so alarmed, something is going on that you have to get up and see. It creates such a strain in you that you cannot remain comfortably asleep. And Zen doesn't talk about great things, about how you will live in heaven, the 3-storied house you will have, and what the streets are paved with, Maybe all these things are true. I don't know. But talking about them isn't going to help me any. I'm with St. Augustine there, I must find out. You must find out. It is incumbent upon you to find out. So find out. People ask questions, Ask a lot of questions. And sometimes they get some answers. And we have this feeling that if we ask a question and we get an answer that satisfies us, if it doesn't satisfy us, an answer that satisfies us, now I feel like I know more. I feel like I'm doing something with my problems. So that one who asks, is there survival after death? And I may say to you, well, yes. And now you think, well, that's nice, and you're a little freer, you think, because you've gotten rid of fear. What's going to happen to you? See? Now I can believe that the soul is immortal. Somebody who knows said yes. And it's written in the book. The soul is immortal. See, I can believe this. Now I'm safe. Does this belief, look at it, does this belief that the soul is immortal make you any more courageous? Does it give you this courage to go out and face life because you're not going to die? You're immortal. Well, where is this immortal soul? Does a belief like that allow you to know yourself better? Or is a belief like that a kind of a crust around you so that you don't have to look? You know, if you asked a Zen master, is the soul immortal? He's not going to answer you. He may say something, well, bring me your soul and let's find out. And that's a good system. Huh? Or if you ask, does one live after death? He will say, I don't know, I'm not dead yet. Yeah. Where's your soul? Bring me your soul. Bring me your mind. That's what Bodhidharma said to Ikahan when he came and cut off his arm and stood there in the snow and, please help me find my mind, help me to find some rest, help me pacify my mind. And Bodhidharma says to him, bring me your mind. And there I have pacified it. Yeah. All this scurrying around with these questions, huh? And Zen doesn't talk very much about God. Not that God is not, but these images that we have of God. Oh, we have such concepts. It is incredible. You know? God is the Father. Well, now we've got something to lean on. We can maneuver him to live our lives. We don't have to be responsible. He is. See? You cannot conceive, no one can conceive of God in a word, in any word. All words are irrelevant. God can be experienced, but not in a word. God can be experienced in silence. Not much point talking about silence, is there? Or about God. Will you solve? Is God the Father? Well, then there's God the Mother. And then there's God the Son. Huh? Which one are you going to choose? All three? Fine, because God is one. And there are those people who polish up their concepts and they shine their beliefs, you know, and nothing about them changes. When does the light enter this dark cavern? How did it get there? How am I going to let it out? So Zen is not a belief system. It is a method of awakening. It is a way of awakening. And a Zen teacher should be tough. And that's a great compassion, to go on finding devices that will awaken you. Now, there was a little Zen master who was worshiping at the statue of Buddha. And a monk came by and looked at this, and he says, why do you worship the Buddha? Well, I like to worship the Buddha. But I thought you said that one cannot obtain enlightenment by worshiping the Buddha. I'm not worshiping the Buddha in order to obtain enlightenment. Well, then why are you worshiping the Buddha? You must have some reason, no reason whatever. I like to worship the Buddha. But you must be seeking something You must have some end in view. I do not worship the Buddha for any end. Then why do you worship the Buddha? What is your purpose in worshiping the Buddha? And at this point, this little Roshi got up and he gave that monk a good slap in the face. Yep. And that is so unexpected. The monk is asking all these questions, one after the other, but they're simple human questions. We have all asked them. We have all wondered about different things, particularly when we were at the age of 4 and 5. And he shouldn't be treated this way, to slap him in the face. There's no need to hit him. No Hindu priest would hit a monk that was asking questions. No Catholic priest would have hit him. No. But their purposes are different. That's all. See? Then why did he hit him? Why did he bother to answer so many of the questions and then finally hit him? Because this Roshi created a situation, a just right situation. It is as if he created a heat. It's called the fire under the cauldron. In China, the abdominal area, where one holds a focus, is sometimes referred to as a cauldron. That's Chinese alchemy, And in Zen, it's sometimes referred to as the pot. This is the pot. This is the cauldron into which you immerse yourself, or into which you become immersed. When you sit, this pot, it rests on the pelvic bones, as it were, and you have this tripod of the folded legs under them in a just so position, see, so that the body can relax and the mind can relax into the pot, see. And then you hold the focus and comes the heat, see? The fire. And with that heat, you emerge out of the cauldron and you will see yourself very, very, very differently. Now, in allowing the monk to keep questioning, he lets him, as it were, run out of his tether. He would have wound up without any questions after a while. It's like a horse, that wants to run, and it begins to trot to the other end of the field only to find that it's tethered, it's tied. And in asking questions to a certain point, you begin to see that you're going to run out of questions, and so you begin to repeat because you run out of questions. There's nothing new coming out of you, It allows you to see that the mind is tethered, that the mind is limited. So you get question. He allows, and in allowing it, he helps the monk to think about it more and more and more, until finally there comes this peak of thinking, as it were. And at that peak, and at that peak only, is that slap of any use. In that instance, his hitting the monk is neither wild nor is it arrogant. See? And it certainly is not out of anger. It's not out of any pique of any kind. P-I-Q-U-E this time. Instead of P-A-K. If he hit him in anger, that would be stupid. It's missing the whole point. The master is not offended by the questions. Next time you ask questions, watch yourself, and you'll see what you're doing. Because we ask questions, and we want an answer to the question to bring something to a finish. The Zen master doesn't answer the question that way. He only answers in a way to make the question more pointed. And he gives the monk the idea that his questions are very important. And that he, as a poor master, is not able to answer them. Because even the slap in the face is not an answer. It doesn't finish anything. It is simply the hope is there that through that shock, you will slip out of the thinking and have a glimpse of reality. Then you're just going to forget about the questions. You will see that your breakfast is getting cold. Zen is of the opinion that if you want to really solve a problem, the consciousness must be applied. A clear consciousness, a consciousness that has been clarified. What is referred to, let us say, in Patanjali's yoga system as raising the consciousness. You ask me a question. I give you an answer. Nothing about you has changed. You remain the same. Same state of consciousness. Only you've got a little more content in the mind. You feel a little better because this is finished now. I can shove it under the rug. I don't have to bother with it anymore. My answering a question simply does nothing for your consciousness. No? You come and ask, does God exist? If I say yes, you remain the same. It's that kind of an answer isn't going to give you more being. It only gives you more stuff to fool around with in your head. Which is what we're doing most of the time anyway, fooling around. Changing the state of consciousness. Unless the consciousness is changed, the state of it, how are you going to solve a problem? You can just sit there and the problem will solve itself. You didn't have anything to do with it then. The problem that you have is created by your present state of consciousness in the first place. It can be solved by a change of state. See? And by slapping the monk, the master has simply helped him to become a little more alert. He moves out and then in again. And in that slap also, the master moves into the monk. There is his love for the monk. But he won't slap until the monk is at a particular place. Or else, it would just turn the monk away. See? Because the Roshis do realize that most of humanity is not interested in the truth. No. It is much more interested in the ego. Say you were slapped. That is a criticism, which is a slap, that you were told that you didn't do something quite right. Teacher's hard on you. Subtle slaps, you know, to which most people react antagonistically. Immediately you're ready to leave. Look at all the people that have gone. One little word, you know, one little slap, and you forget all about the thing that you're supposed to be searching for the truth. And rather than becoming more open and more awake and more alert, you simply close up and you say, I don't want it anymore. It doesn't give me enough esteem. Well, you are not satisfying my ego. Boils down to that. There is in Zen a particular atmosphere. It's a setting, you know. It's like an environment. It's called sometimes an ambience. And sometimes it's called a milieu. During World War, did you read the book about during World War II? There was people that came from the southern part of Italy, came to France. They escaped to France, and they began to fight with the underground, with the Allies. They were from the mafia, these people. That family. And after the war in France, they banded together again. But in France, it was no longer called mafia. It was called milieu. Their environment, their way of life, their milieu. So Zen is also a milieu. It is a setting. It is an atmosphere for a particular way of finding yourself. When you understand that, you will understand all religions better. If you're Catholic, you will become a better Catholic for knowing this. If you're a Muslim, you will be a better Muslim for knowing yourself. Because you will understand what is there to be discovered in that tradition. It is said that in Zen there is this milieu of love and certainly of trust. Trust is like an anchor in it, with all the chattering and the abstracting and the speculation that goes on about the teacher did this and the teacher did that and the teacher did the other thing. Underneath, riding all of that, all these waves, there is this anchor. I trust you. You don't do nice things to me now and then, but I trust you. I love you. That's the milieu when it is reciprocated. Teacher and student. If I say something, I know that, or I hope at any rate, you're not going to pout too long. You won't run too far away. That you will just simply look and then, I guess I need to go to work here. Looking for this that is slippery and sly and shy. So you can woo it. And very often, they call this the work. And these the work. The seeking business is called the work. Vit Van used to sign all of his letters faithfully in the work. The work. Now, to work means that you have become available not only to the teacher, but to yourself. You are available to God. You are available. You are in the work.
If you find Lola's talks valuable, more will be posted in weeks to come.